Hello guys, just Goran here and welcome back to building the Beekse Bergen, and welcome back it is because it has been a little while since the last episode, and if you haven't seen the update video or the Red Panda live stream, then you may not even know why that is. Basically, I made a big error in planning out the zoo, causing the final two areas we've worked on, the crocodile and hippo residence as well as the tiger habitats, to need to be redone. So the past week I have been reconstructing them, and we will get to them in a bit, but there's actually a lot of things that kind of have changed around the zoo. We've been doing live streams, and if you haven't watched those streams, then you may have missed a bunch of the changes we made in there. Now, if you download the park on the workshop, you can actually find all the changes that I make in between episodes and live streams that I don't show in the change notes. I always make sure to write everything down that I did to as much detail as possible. So you can always check here what has changed since the last update and check that out in the park yourself. Today I just want to take you through some of those things. So let's head into the park together. Before we head into the park, let's actually go right over here, because this is already an area that has seen a small little change. We added this rhino mural to this area, which looks pretty cool. Pretty happy with that, how that one turned out. We made that one on stream. Then as we enter the zoo, we also have a bunch of stuff in here. It is still a work in progress. I'm always kind of adding stuff to this, but I have been stocking up this gift shop with some items made by Eben for the Taramashari Zoo, and that is really bringing some extra life to this gift shop, so I can't wait to add more of those. Another thing we did on this building is make a new bus safari sign, which looks pretty good. At least it looks a lot better than the previous one. Another thing we did in one of the live streams was change the staff building of the Persian leopard habitat to be made out of plaster. It's still not entirely finished. I'm not really happy with all the doors and stuff, so it kind of needs another redesign, but maybe in the future we'll get to that. Now, moving to the back of the reptile house, you may or may not have seen some of these changes already. I've been adding a lot of new murals and decorations to this area. The restaurant itself still has to be tackled someday. At least the interior of it is still a mess, but maybe someday. But for now, the outside is looking a whole lot better, so that's really cool. Now we're coming up on the next big change, which is actually a very small change, but it's big because it covers a lot of areas of the zoo. In the last stream we made these small little education signs. We used to have these made out of a different type of plank, and it looked fine, but now it's just a little bit more details with these indications that there's pictures of the animals on there and stuff like that. So I'm really happy with how those look, and I've plastered those all around the zoo whenever we needed them. And as we move along this path, we get to the warthog habitat, and they actually have a new corrugated fence all the way around, using the corrugated sheets from the corrugated, what are they called? The corrugated iron wall panels from the Australia DLC. So those look a lot more like they should in real life now, and I'm really happy with that. Also, this was already here for a while, pretty much one of the first things I did with the Australia DLC, but I added these nice corrugated sheets to the elephant habitats, or the elephant stall, which looks way better than what we had before, so I'm really happy with that. Another Australia DLC change I made was over here, using the new rusty iron rods. Put those in the springbok habitat, and they look a lot better than the wooden poles that we had before. And one of the last changes from the previous stream is to do with this staff area. We added a lot more detail, like all these tools hanging on a rack, and we fixed up some of these doors which weren't completely accurate. And here's actually a pretty neat trick that you may not know. I used a bike as a door handle. So now that we've shown all of that fun stuff, let's actually go to the area it's all about. We can already see it coming up, but I want to take a little vantage point from the bridge over here, because it is quite the sight. Because from over here, all you see is foliage pretty much. Like, you might see the odd person walking there, but there is so much foliage, and it's really lush and beautiful, and I'm really happy with how this area turned out. So without any further ado, let's go back to the tiger habitats that are now recreated. I completely had to remove this area and build it from the ground up. Of course, I could use elements of the stuff I'd already built, but a lot of it had to be completely redone. And here we have the zebu habitat with a new sign for them. Over here there's another sign for some yak, which we're going to use, of course, the American buffalo or bison for that. But yeah, they're going to be over there. And now as we turn around, we get finally to the tiger habitat. So let's take a little trip around here. And where is she? I don't actually see her. Hello? Oh, there she is. Wow, 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 wow. So yeah, this habitat is now a lot more accurate, and I actually think it's a lot more beautiful compared to what it was. They actually have a little bit more space as well, I think, especially in this one. But other changes include I added a weeping willow, which is kind of uses some of Mike Sheets, his weeping willow that he put on the workshop pretty early on in Planet Zoo's lifespan, I think. Also, these viewing areas are now a lot smaller, like the space between the viewing area and the kind of edge of the drop-off thing into the water is a lot smaller. And because of that, I couldn't get the path as close to it, so I made these custom paths using some of the temple pieces from the South America DLC. Yeah, the only thing not really accurate about this area right now is the fact that the reptile house is a bit bigger than what it's supposed to be, but I'm fine with that because the interior is so damn cool that yeah, I'm fine with it not being completely the right size. I think the interior makes up for that. But yeah, this is the second viewing area. Then moving along, we get to an area that isn't completely finished. The aviary needs to be added here, but I'm really not feeling like doing another aviary at the moment, so we're gonna wait with that one a little bit. But as we move along here, I might want to add a little bit more foliage here because I feel like this area should be a bit more filled up, especially over here. But over here we get to the next tiger habitat where I had to redo the floating barrier trick. I'm still working on making a tutorial for this, but I'm kind of finding it hard to figure out what I want to show and like how I'm gonna explain it. Either way, this is the third tiger habitat. We just saw the tiger kind of lying back there, so I don't think we can actually see it from here. But he's got a little pond, he's got a bunch of foliage around. This habitat's definitely a lot smaller than what it's supposed to be because of the reptile house being a bit bigger. So it's a bit of a shame for the tiger, but yeah. From over here, you've got another view into the habitat. Let's see if we can see him. Oh yeah, there he is, lying down next to his food. And yeah, then we get to the reptile house, which is also a little bit off. This area is supposed to be a bit longer, first of all. But yeah, that all has to do with the reptile house being a little bit too big. But this is also an improved area, actually. I didn't change much, though I have managed to get guests their feet onto the ground in here before they would kind of clip through, because the path was actually lower than the floor. And what I've also done is I made sure to put the reptile house at a height where I could put the water into these habitats in a way that it was just under the path. So now we've got our waterfall effect back in with the ripples, because before the ripples would go over the path, but now they don't anymore, so that all works. And yeah, the crocodiles are in here all happy schmappy. As is our hippo, which now also has a bit more water, because yeah, we could put that water up a bit higher. Then going to the outside here, I have been able to make some changes to this path, getting the proper kind of curvature into it. So before you were able to kind of look straight onto the continuation of this path, which isn't supposed to be the case because it's supposed to kind of bend off, and actually you're supposed to see just this bamboo over here. which before wasn't the case, but now it is. So that's actually a very nice improvement. And yeah, over here you've got a view of the outdoor hippo habitat, which is mostly the same. A couple of small changes in like placement of some stuff, but overall it's all the same, and it's looking pretty good. One thing I did do here is make sure that the water is shallow enough for the hippos to just slightly be above water when they stand in it, which in real life they like because they want to be able to put their head above the water. In Planet Zoo, sadly, the hippos don't actually put their head above the water. So that's a bit of a shame, but in real life this would be perfect depth for them, I think. Okay, so we're back in the front of the park because the area we are going to be working on today, although it is actually connected to the area we worked on the last episode, it is also connected to over here, because today I want to be working on the docks. In this little area over here there is a dock with a boat ride that brings you all the way across the water to over here, where I have already been working and laying out the dock itself. So there's going to be one big dock over here and a smaller dock for like private boats and stuff like that. I'm not actually sure what it's used for, but I'm sure it has a purpose over here. Now I did have to make one tough decision, and I really did want to make the boats functional using the riverboat ride in game. It kind of like a dock platform isn't that much bigger than the actual dock platform that we're supposed to have, but the issue comes when you take into consideration that, well, you have two dock platforms here, so I can't just have one, even though you're only going to use one of them. I think that's kind of a letdown of the game itself, but whatever. The other problem is that attached to this dock you're going to have a queue and an exit path, and that is also going to really screw up the dock itself. On top of that, when you put a riverboat ride into a body of water and you have a path attached to it, if you remove the water you cannot place back the water because the path will be in the way. So that's a whole lot of downsides to actually making this functional. So I think we're just gonna make the dock and then make the boats ourselves as well. Alright, so I have measured out the sizes of the boats and I have a lot more to show you. I'm just kind of trying to make this a bit more interesting because I kind of didn't have time. Oh, don't look over there. I kind of didn't have time to record anything this week to show you the in-between progress, but over here we come to something very exciting. Over here we have the Livingstone and the Stanley. I've got this kind of little area over here, and let me show you what that is all about. Basically I took some new screenshots of just the boats on a 1:1 scale and placed them on a grid. I kind of followed my own recreation tutorial to get some one-on-one scale screenshots of the boats, because I figured that making them at the scale we're building the zoo at would look a little bit weird. They would look very tiny. So that's why I decided to make them at a 1:1 scale, which ended up very nicely. Now I didn't have any pictures of these boats myself, so I had to go online and look for some reference images. I used some YouTube videos, but I also found a ton of pictures of these boats online. Over here you can see the Livingstone, which is the biggest boat and also the oldest of the two. This one was bought back when they dug out the entire water canals of the zoo, which were dug out by hand or by machine. But yeah, back in 1998 they bought it. It used to be a freight ship, and its old name was actually Adriana. And I tried to find some different angles. I was very happy when I found this image, which kind of showed the front and also showed this white material over there, because I didn't know what material to make that. And then just a bunch of different angles. And then the other boat, Stanley, I have less information about her. She is from Germany originally and was a bike ferry. So it would transport people and bikes between two ends of a river. And yeah, again, I tried to find some different angles. So here we can see very nicely the back of the boat. And a bit full picture of this side. Even clearer the back of the boat. And very clearly the front. And stuff like that. So yeah, had to look this up online, but there was plenty to find. I did have to make sure I took images from recent years, or at least I looked at what the recent paint jobs were. But here they are in full. Both of the boats. This one took me a couple of days, and when I kind of had the hang of it, I built this one in just a single day, which was today. I just now noticed, oh, that's just a level of detail thing. I did, however, notice that I did make one mistake in the paint job of this one. This little wavy pattern is not actually there anymore. It's there in all of the pictures that I had, but if you look actually at an image I took myself very recently, here is an image of the boat very recently. As you can tell, it's just a straight line, but I don't know, I really like the wavy pattern, so I'm just gonna keep it for now. And if at any point the inaccuracy of this is starting to bug me, I might change it, but for now I like it too much, and I kind of think it's a shame that they didn't repaint it that way. But yeah, let's take a bit of a closer look. So on the Livingstone, we've got a bit of a simplified letter over here, and you've got the nice boat shape, and like this it's pretty complex because it very slightly curves back down and then back up, where it goes around, and of course there's like furniture up here where you could sit. Didn't do the interior because these windows had like a very roundish shape, so I couldn't find a way to make that shape transparent at all, so that's why I just made the shell of the boat pretty much. And yeah, the front of the boat is kind of at an angle like that, so that's also pretty interesting. And then here are these buoys, which are made out of these pieces. You can see over here. Isn't that much to say about it, except for the fact that it took forever to get the shape in there. We're using all of these art shapes, and in some places I really tried to kind of fit it as well as I could, using a combination of triangles and rectangles. But at a certain point I thought these minor clippings don't matter that much. Oh, apparently there's a hole in there as well. That is actually something I might want to fix now that I think of it. But yeah, if you start doing stuff like this, you're gonna get that kind of staircase effect. You can do this more neatly, but it's so much work, and you're hardly gonna tell the difference, really. So I honestly think that's fine, doing it like that, very much. But yeah, in the back here, I did do a bit more effort to make that shape nice. As you can see over here, just using those triangles to get it kind of aligned properly. But even then, at a certain point, you just can't do that with the shapes of the art shapes. So yeah, you just have to kind of live with some of these inconsistencies. And then for the Stanley, not entirely accurate either. I copied over the same frame of the ship, even though this one probably doesn't have one that goes that deep, because this is a much smaller boat. But I couldn't be bothered doing the entire frame over. And at the end here, that's where it becomes especially apparent, because this is not very neatly done. But I was so done with this. When I finished the Livingstone, I almost didn't want to do the Stanley, but I pulled through today, and I actually had quite a lot of fun making this one. The shape was a bit more simple, especially just all of this stuff. I didn't go as far or as crazy with like this building actually kind of curves like this, even though it doesn't really need to. I could have just made it straight and it would have been so much easier, but I had to go in and make it hard for myself. But I didn't do that for this one, and actually I think it looks a lot better actually. So yeah, oh yeah, I should probably zoom in on these things. I didn't have any pieces. Like, these circle things look a lot better. But that's because they're made out of like all of these long tubes. But I couldn't do that over here because they would stick out into this seating area. So instead I made them out of gutter pieces. So they look a bit more jank, but they look fine. I also made this starfish out of gutter pieces. And these are just a bunch of planks. And what's really interesting over here, probably, I mean, I'm just guessing you probably find this interesting. This is actually kind of an older logo of the zoo, which apparently is still on this boat. So I recreated it because of that. And it looks pretty cool. And then there's just all of these other details, like this pattern mosaic thing. I do actually kind of want to fix it on this side. So yeah, that's the boats, Livingstone and Stanley. Over here we got the Livingstone looking pretty nice, and then I put the Stanley over here, but I kind of want to make the Stanley I want to put him at the dock that we're gonna build, because this one is essentially the more detailed one out of the two. So I think it'd be nice to have this one a bit more near, near where you might actually see it. Alright guys, we are back at the front of the park, and I'm ready to show you guys the final bit of progress for this episode. I haven't finished both of the docks, but this episode is getting pretty long because of all the things I showed at the start, and I've been working on this for over a week now, so I think it's about time I wrap it up. And then in the next episode we will be working on the Congo Square and the next dock probably. So if we take a little right turn over here after going past that little bridge at the gorilla habitat, we will get to the boat safari. Actually, this sign will also tell you boat safari is that way. And yeah, we have some guests over here, which I think I screwed up, and they are now ignoring the staff pathing underneath this plaster, which I really hope isn't the case. But I don't know where she came from, because there's nothing to do here for the guests. But over here we have a little sign advertising the subscription of the zoo. It's a lot smaller. It's kind of supposed to be, it's basically supposed to be this sign, but half the size, which of course is impossible because I can't really make this any smaller than it is. So yeah, it became a little bit janky, but yeah, see, they're ignoring the staff path. Okay, I have to do something about that, but this is such an annoying path to make. Why? Anyway, when you cross the road, I have to put the zebra crossing back in. This is not your, oh god, they're both broken. Anyway, enough complaining. We have the docks over here. After we get some benches, some new signs over here advertising kind of the rules of the boat safari, I think. And then this is just to indicate that this is where the boat safari is, and this is a sign that says what time the boat leaves. I'm not sure if the blue sign is normally there, because the blue sign on my reference photos is like, the boat isn't going today. So I'm not sure if when this sign actually displays the times, if it's also a blue sign like this. Because if it's not, then I have to change it, because as I've said before, I want this, like this screenshot of the park, is what it's going to be eventually in a way, to be kind of a hot summer's day. And on a hot summer's day, the boat is definitely going. So yeah, that's why that might have to be changed. But when we go over here, we got a little smoky thing that we built in the reptile house. And this area isn't as detailed as I wanted it to be. There's a lot of like netting and ropes, but I just didn't like the way that the South African ropes looped around these poles, and regular ropes are a bit too big, so I kind of just left it a bit barren, but I mean, it's still very nice. This is a queue, that's what it is. And yeah, you've got these little chains that if they open them up, then you've got a much shorter queue. But of course, this is a busy hot summer's day, so the queue is all the way. Gotta zigzag through until you get to the end. And then there's this little there's a bunch of clutter, decorating up the place. And then over here, you've got the entrance to the dock. If you go across this little bridge, there's another kind of boat structure. I made it out of wood because it's a lot easier to manipulate compared to the art shapes that I used on the actual boats. And I thought for this little kind of dock on area, that worked a lot better because it still had a really weird complex shape. It's kind of I think maybe a towboat of sorts. But yeah, it's a little boat kind of thing. And this is where the other boat's attached to. So here it will drop its little ledge and you will be able to get on board. And the other boat has and this boat has its ledge on the front, so that's why the hole is over here. The other boat has its ledge on the back, which is why it's over there. And yeah, that's pretty much it for this little area. There's some things left to be done here, to be done in the future. There's another small little dock for the Okavango, which is a smaller little boat that you can rent, and for like smaller, yeah, if you were a bunch of people. So this is that little boat over here, and I might make that one in the future, but as you can probably imagine, I'm a little boat sick at the moment. But yeah, that is one more area at the entrance that is now a bit closer to completion, which I'm pretty happy with because there's a couple of spots I still want to touch on in the beginning area. Mainly this little square, the restaurant interior, and I mean of course the parking lot, but I'm probably gonna keep postponing that for a very long time. And then the bus stop, which I still can't get to. Maybe next time I'm at the zoo, who knows. I do have a new source of reference also for this area, because recently I've started watching a show which is kind of a Secret Life at the Zoo. I don't know if you've heard of that one, but it's very similar to that, but then featuring this zoo and another one, and they show a lot of the backstage stuff. There's like a big staff area over here where they prepare most of the food for like all the animals in the zoo. So yeah, I'm seeing a lot of cool stuff in that show that I'm kind of incorporating, one of which is this little water tap over here. The chimpanzees have their own little water tap that they can activate themselves and get water out of, which is really cool. And yeah, like that, I'm kind of noticing some small details, but also just have a look at a lot of the areas. Wow, he's sitting on the rope. That's so cool. Okay. That rope wasn't good enough, apparently. But yeah, I'm noticing some new stuff in that show, which is really cool. So yeah, we'll slowly get to expanding this area. But enough rambling. Next episode we'll be working on the other dock, Congo Square possibly, or possibly the Hippo Aviary over here. We'll see what I feel like doing then. Hope you'll stick around, and I'll see you in the next episode. Goodbye. Thanks for watching once again. Sorry there's no comparison screenshots at the end of this episode. The reference photos I had didn't really allow for proper comparisons to be made. So here's some nice screenshots of the things we made today. I did quickly want to mention that both of the boats are available on the workshop for you to download. A link to my workshop page is in the description of each of my videos. So check it out if you want to use them. Bye bye.